Mass murder. Why, given this information, didn't the Allies act sooner? And why, specifically, didn't they bomb Auschwitz?
September 1941. Inside Auschwitz, the Deputy Commandant Karl Fritsch sealed Soviet prisoners of war inside the basement of Block 11 and dropped Zyklon B pellets through the door. Within minutes, they were dead. This was the first successful gassing at Auschwitz, and it proved mass killing could be done systematically. Auschwitz is often remembered through numbers and dates, but behind the gas chambers is a darker history, one that reveals how an entire system was built to erase human life. This is what remains. This is Panic Files. Auschwitz was not a single location, but a carefully designed system built to carry out mass murder with industrial efficiency. This documentary examines how Auschwitz's gas chambers functioned, why they were created, and what they reveal about systematic genocide. And this is where most people get it wrong. Auschwitz wasn't one camp behind a fence. It was an enormous complex, spread across roughly 40 square kilometers. A space deliberately chosen, deliberately expanded, and deliberately hidden in plain sight. At its center stood Auschwitz I, the administrative heart of the operation. This was where orders were processed, records were kept, and political prisoners and Soviet prisoners of war were held. It looked like a prison. That was intentional. A few kilometers away was Auschwitz II, Birkenau. This was the extermination center, most of the gas chambers, most of the crematoria, most of the killing. Then there was Auschwitz III, Monowitz, built to supply forced labor to German industry. Its largest beneficiary was IG Farben, one of the Reich's most powerful chemical companies. Beyond these were around 40 subcamps, feeding labor, materials, and people into the system. The location mattered. Rail lines converged here. The area was isolated. Supplies could move in. People could disappear. This wasn't chaos. It was logistics. And once the system was in place, the next question became unavoidable. How to kill on a scale never attempted before.
It's heartbreaking that they didn't. They knew there were gas chambers there. Why didn't they do it?
Here's where the planning becomes unmistakable. In the summer of 1941, Auschwitz Commandant Rudolf Höss was summoned to meet Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS. The message was direct. Hitler had ordered the extermination of Europe's Jewish population. Auschwitz would play a central role. At other locations, mobile gas vans were already being used. Victims were sealed inside and killed using exhaust fumes. But Auschwitz was different. Transports were arriving by the thousands. Gas vans simply couldn't keep up. The operation needed something scalable, something efficient, something that could be repeated, transport after transport. The solution had to fit the system. Chemical killing methods were already familiar to the SS. Pesticides were widely used for delousing camps. The materials were available, the knowledge existed. The shift toward gas wasn't sudden, it was calculated. A killing method was needed that could operate indoors, handle large numbers, and leave minimal visible traces. That search led directly to one substance, Zyklon B. Zyklon B was not designed as a weapon. It was a commercial pesticide, commonly used to kill insects and rodents. Its active ingredient was cyanide, absorbed into pellets made of silica or diatomaceous earth. When exposed to air, these pellets release hydrogen cyanide gas. That gas interferes with the body's ability to use oxygen. Cells essentially suffocate, even when oxygen is present. Why was Zyklon B chosen? Because it was cheap. Because it was widely available, because SS personnel already knew how to use it, and because it could kill many people in a confined space without mechanical complexity. The effects varied. Temperature mattered. Humidity mattered. Proximity to the gas mattered. Some victims lost consciousness quickly. Others struggled longer. Doctors stationed at Auschwitz documented seizures, loss of motor control, and respiratory failure. This was not instant, but it was consistent. And once it was proven to work, the system moved quickly. The first tests did not happen in Birkenau. They happened inside the camp itself. This part often gets overlooked. While Commandant Huss was away in September 1941, Karl Fritsch, the deputy camp commandant, conducted unauthorized experiments. The victims were Soviet prisoners of war. The location was Block 11, the camp's penal block, a prison within the prison. Zyklon B pellets were dropped inside the basement cells. The results were clear. The gas was lethal, but Block 11 wasn't practical. There was no mechanical ventilation. Airing out the rooms took time. Moving bodies across the camp raised visibility issues, so the killing moved. Crematorium 1 was converted. Its morgue became a gas chamber capable of holding hundreds. Holes were cut into the roof to drop the pellets inside. The existing ventilation system designed for decomposing corpses was sufficient to remove gas afterward. SS officer Hans Stark later testified that Zyklon B was poured directly into the chamber. No protective devices, no barriers between the gas and the people inside. He described the screams, the realization, the panic. This mattered operationally. It showed that this chamber lacked the controlled insertion systems used later. Crematorium 1 worked, but only barely, and it revealed a problem the SS couldn't ignore. Once death was confirmed by an SS doctor, another part of the system took over. Prisoners known as the Sonderkommando were forced to enter the gas chambers. Their task was to remove bodies, extract gold teeth, cut hair, and load corpses into the ovens. They worked under threat of death themselves. Ventilation systems were activated. Sometimes engines outside were revved loudly to mask sounds. Even so, screams were sometimes audible from nearby buildings, including the camp hospital. Crematorium 1 sat in full view of parts of Auschwitz I. Windows overlooked the operation. It was impossible to remain discreet. More importantly, the camp was receiving more transports than this facility could handle. The system was outgrowing its first solution. The SS needed something larger, something hidden, something expandable. That led them outside the main camp, 2 farmhouses. In early 1942, the SS converted a farmhouse near Birkenau into Bunker 1, later called the Little Red House. Windows were bricked up. The interior rooms were sealed. Hatches were installed in exterior walls for gas insertion. Signs on the doors read, "Zur Desinfection," to disinfect. Victims were told they would shower before work assignments. Wooden barracks nearby were used for undressing. Around 800 people could be killed at once. Later that year, Bunker 2, the Little White House, was created. It had 4 gas chambers and a higher capacity, up to 1,200 victims. Bodies were removed using carts on small rail tracks, initially buried in pits, later burned in the open air. Neither bunker had mechanical ventilation. Gassings often occurred at night. Rooms were aired out naturally before work resumed. As transports increased, even daylight gassings occurred. Sonderkommando entered wearing gas masks. These buildings no longer exist today. Only foundations remain. But the scale of killing had already outgrown them, and the SS knew it. At first, bodies were buried, but decomposition caused problems. The ground polluted the water table. The evidence didn't stay hidden. Himmler ordered the corpses exhumed and burned. Mass graves became open-air pyres. This wasn't improvisation. It was an adaptation. The SS recognized that temporary solutions wouldn't last. If the war turned, evidence would remain. A permanent infrastructure was required, one that combined killing, disposal, and concealment in a single process. Construction began in Birkenau in mid-1942. 4 massive crematoria, built not just to kill, but to erase.
It's ein Problem! It's ein Problem! It's ein Problem!
Keine Problem, keine Problem.
This is where the system reached its most developed form. Crematoria 2 and 3 were completed between 1943 and 1944. Both were mirror images of each other. Underground undressing rooms led to gas chambers, also underground. The chambers were mechanically ventilated. Fresh air entered from above. Exhaust was drawn out near the floor. 4 wire mesh columns stood inside each chamber. Zyklon B was poured into removable canisters inside these columns. This prevented interference and allowed rapid removal afterward. Each chamber could hold up to 2,000 people. Just before gas insertion, air was sometimes pumped out to make the space more suffocating. Eyewitness Henrik Tauber, a Sonderkommando member, described the sequence in detail. Commandant Huss later confirmed timing, conditions, and variability. Some victims collapsed quickly. Others moved, screamed, and struggled. Within minutes, the chamber fell silent. Once death was confirmed, ventilation resumed. Sonderkommando entered immediately, often before the gas had fully cleared. Bodies were lifted via freight elevators directly to the ovens above. This was not hidden chaos, it was an assembly line. To keep order, deception was essential. Showerheads were installed, benches lined the undressing rooms, hooks were numbered. Victims were told to remember their hook numbers. Shoes were tied together so they wouldn't be lost. Women and children entered first. Men followed. SS guards controlled movement. Those who resisted were beaten, threatened with dogs, or removed and shot elsewhere. A truck painted with Red Cross markings often followed transports. It appeared reassuring. In reality, it carried Zyklon B and the personnel who would deploy it. Even Allied reconnaissance photos later captured the paths taken by SS men as they walked across crematoria roofs to insert the gas. The illusion was maintained until the doors closed. After that, the system took over. Crematoria 4 and 5 differed from the others. Their gas chambers were at ground level. Gas was inserted through the wall shutters using ladders or chairs. There was no mechanical ventilation. Doors were open to air the rooms naturally. Solid fuel stoves were installed to warm the chambers and speed gas evaporation. They lacked the complex insertion columns seen elsewhere, though some evidence suggests simple wire mesh devices may have existed. The process was otherwise the same. Undress, enter, doors shut, gas inserted, bodies removed. These buildings were simpler, but no less lethal. In 1944, Auschwitz entered its deadliest period. Over 437,000 Jews from Hungary were deported in just weeks. The crematoria couldn't keep up. Bodies were burned in open pits behind Crematorium Phi. Bunker 2 was reopened. Victims undressed outdoors. In October 1944, Sonderkommando prisoners damaged Crematorium 4 during an uprising. It never operated again. In November, Himmler ordered the gassings stopped. As the Red Army advanced, the SS dismantled and destroyed the crematoria. Crematoria 2 and 3 were blown up in January 1945. Crematorium 5 operated until the final days. Auschwitz was liberated on January 27, 1945. What remained were ruins and records. So what's your take on this history? Share your thoughts below. And if you found this important, consider subscribing. More documented stories are coming. This documentary is presented for historical and educational purposes only. It is based on documented evidence, eyewitness testimony, and verified historical research. The intent is to inform, contextualize, and preserve the factual record of events, not to sensationalize or glorify violence.